Hey everybody, today we are giving our salute to pocket hole jigs. No, not the dance jig, but specifically the Kreg jig K5. The Kreg jig is great for certain types of applications. Specifically, if you're looking to build a project fairly quickly, or you have a project where you can hide the pocket holes that the jig makes. It's a fairly strong woodworking joint, and let's go ahead and take a look at the setup. Some features that you'll see on the pocket hole jig is the clamp that's in the back that basically you'll set to a certain depth that when you pull this down, it locks your piece into place. And what's also nice is the fact that you have these little side compartments on each side. And I usually just keep my drill bits on each side there. And you'll also have this screw length gauge that we'll talk about in just a moment. A nice feature that you'll find on this specific pocket hole jig is that you'll notice that there are board thickness numbers on the side here. And that basically refers to how thick the board that you're going to be using is going to be. So if you're going to be putting pocket holes in a board that is 3/4 of an inch thick, what you would do is drop this down by pulling the pin and drop it down to the 3/4 mark and then make sure that's locked in. Now these pocket hole jigs come with a specific type of bit. It's not like your typical standard twist bit. You'll notice at the very tip here, it's a smaller area, and then it eventually tapers down to a fatter area here on that bit. Now what that's meant for is that the tip here is for the pilot hole to where the screw will fit into the board, and then the top part actually makes the hole for the pocket hole. With that bit, there's also a specific setup as well. Now we've already got the board thickness on the side here. Now you'll notice here, we'll also need to set the screw length. So typically for something that we're going into that's 3/4 of an inch, we're gonna use the standard 1 1/4 inch screw. So what we would do is we would loosen up this stopper on the drill bit, and that's just with the Allen wrench on the side, and we can loosen that up. And then what you would do is put this into one of the holes on the top, slide that down, and we're going to match it up with the 1 1/4 hole that is right there. And as that sits, and this sits right freely on top, you can go ahead, tighten that up, and back this out, and you'll notice that that should be sitting just above the top of that plastic part right there. So now that we have the board thickness set, we also have the stopper on our drill bit set, and we also have the clamp in the back set, we will go ahead and place our 3/4 thick board into the area and clamp that down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pocket hole in the outside 2 holes here. You'll notice that there's 3 and they give you different sizes and variations, but specifically for this board, I'm going to put one in the outside 2. And you'll notice I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of that drill bit. So now that we've made our pocket holes, I'm going to go ahead and unclamp this, and you'll be able to see what they look like when it's all said and done. Now you'll notice that these holes right here go all the way down, and they don't quite poke out the bottom there. You can kind of see where it does, but you'll see how the next step kind of goes together. So as it sits, you can see the pocket holes that we've made are on top of the board. And what we're going to do is eventually join these 2 boards together like so. And what we'll do with these pocket holes and the way that they work is it allows the screw to go in at an angle, and it's roughly about something right about there. And that's why we use the 1 1/4 screws, because that's about how deep those screws are going to be. And you don't want those 1 1/4 screws to poke out through the bottom. Now they do make specific clamps for this part, but I just took a quick grip clamp that I have laying around the shop and just added it to the board here to give a little bit more support as I screw these in. Now you'll notice I'll go ahead and I'll put these screws in, and I'm also going to use a longer driver bit, which gets me a good angle to put those in. Now you don't want to over tighten these as you put them in. So it's usually a good idea to maybe set the torque on this, or just know when it is a good time to not blow through the back end of that other board. So let's go ahead, now that we have our screws in, let's take this clamp off and see how it turned out. And you can see, for the most part, you want to have no gaps in here. And ideally, you want this surface to be even with that surface. But it looks like it's pretty good. It doesn't look like it's too bad at all. And I did not put any glue in there. Typically, I would put some glue in there, and that would make it even stronger. So to give you an idea as to when to use a pocket hole jig versus when to not use one, let's take a look at 3 different ways that I put boards together. So the first one here, I just put 2 boards together using a countersink bit and 2 screws. You can obviously see the screws from the outside. If you move to the second one here, I put 2 boards together using glue and finish nails. Now the finish nailer is a smaller, less noticeable approach, but you can still see them in the end. And for this one here, this is held together with 2 pocket hole screws. So as you can see, the one that has the pocket hole screws is less noticeable. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you can hide those somehow, it makes this a lot easier, and it's really quick to put these together. Now let's have a little bit of fun and see which one's the strongest. And I've set these 3 pieces all together on a board, and I'm going to stand on each one to see which one, or if any, break. All right, here goes number 1. Yep, that's what I thought. Let's go to number 2. Yep, that's what I thought. And we'll go to the pocket hole and see what happens there. Whoa! I'm almost putting all my weight on it. That's pretty good. So as it sits, the pocket hole is the strongest of the 3 that I just showed you. But what fun is that? Let's go get a 30-pound weight. So you can see the pocket hole was no match for the 30-pound weight. Perhaps if I was doing something a little lighter than that, like 20 or something, maybe it wouldn't have broke. But again, I did use plywood, so maybe if we used a regular natural piece of wood, it would be a little stronger. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit with the pocket hole jigs, the process of setting it up, what they do, where you would use them, and things like that. So hopefully in the end, you guys are taking something away from these videos. And I encourage you guys, like before, to get up off the couch, go get your hands dirty, get in the garage, and be creative. Until next time.